Alrighty, we're here once again, and I'm going over it's a couple of slides, 42 slides that talk about the double clutching, and it's very easy. You got to remember the when we're thinking about double clutching, we're thinking about first our road speed, right? Our speed is our gear, right? On the top side, but when you're moving within the lower gears, you don't have to move for the test. You don't have to do one, two, three, four, five. Those gears are literally, uh, they literally have 3 mile per hour between each gear, right? And then you're going to think of this cadence: clutch neutral, clutch gear, right? One and two, one, two is going to be your cadence, right? So, with that being said, let me try to get you guys started. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so when we're thinking of the 10-speed transmission, right, we have five on the low side, and the low side is you have like that H pattern. But we're gonna talk about the H. We're gonna turn the H into the letter M. And you'll see in the next few slides what I'm talking about. So we have all the way to the left, we have first and reverse. Reverse being right across from first, and then you have neutral, then you have second and third, right? And then we have fourth and fifth. Now, when you turn the truck on, you got to push in the clutch. You go ahead and fire up the truck. Make sure the truck's in neutral before you let go of the clutch, or the truck will bounce around on you. Now, on the low side, you have like a spring that's between first and third gear. That spring, as you push the lever towards you, it'll kind of help you find the center, right? When you push this way, there's a resistance because of the spring. If you push all the way to the right, you're going to feel the wall of the inside of the shifter, right? So let's go to the next slide. Now, when we're thinking of high, it's 5 high. Same thing. You got 6 is where 1 is. You got 7 where 2 is, 8, 9, and 10, right? And then we're going to be thinking of 5 low and 5 high. On the high side, now on the low end, we have 1 through 5. Those gears shift very, very low. They have 3 mile per hours between those gears, right? So on the high end, we have a 10 mile per hour buffer. On the low end, we have 3. On the high end, we have 10. So it's easier to shift these gears on the high end because there's more play to work with. On the low end, man, on the low end, you're toast. You got to shift, and you got to shift relatively quickly and smoothly. Now, with that being said, when you do the double clutching on the exam, double clutching doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And if you double clutch perfect, then you double clutching, all the double clutching does is when you push in the clutch, there's a brake in there that reduces the speed of the transmission. Right? That speed in the transmission When you push the clutch in twice and you push it in too far, you just slowed the transmission down. And it's you want to when you're double clutching, you're trying to match the truck speed or the engine speed with the transmission speed. That's what we're doing in double clutching. Let's go to the next slide. See, I was telling, think about the letter M when we're thinking of low, because when you're shifting here, you bring the truck up to operating range, which is between like 1500 RPMs. You know, clutch neutral, clutch two, right? So it's clutch neutral, clutch gear, and then if you're going up, you're pushing up on the shifter, you know, and then as you push the clutch in to remove the gear from first, at the exact same moment, you're taking your foot off the throttle, but you're always going to be covering the brake and the throttle. Covering the brake and the throttle is like you put your heel on the floor of the truck and you kind of just have your foot sitting on top of the pedal, but you're not really putting pressure on it. So when you're shifting, you're going to go clutch neutral, clutch two, clutch neutral, clutch three, clutch neutral, clutch four, clutch neutral, clutch five. For the test, we're probably going to take off in third because first and second is really, really slow. Third is more desirable for the examiner because you can move the truck a little bit quicker. Now you don't. Why fight with these two gears if they're hardly moving, and it's going to make it harder for you to shift. So you're going to bring the truck up to operating range, 1500 RPMs, clutch neutral. The RPMs drop, right, because you took your foot off the throttle. The RPMs go, the truck drops road speed. No, the truck drops RPMs, and then you do clutch four. So you come out at 15 and you come in around 1100 RPMs. There's going to be clutch neutral, clutch five. Let's go on the high side. High side is the same thing because on the high side, remember, we're coming off of five. So we have the longest travel time between 5 and 6. So when you're in 5, you're gonna go you're gonna do clutch neutral all the way over to 6 and clutch 6. Right? This travel time, when you come out of here at 15, the truck should be like at 1,000 or less. Now it's gonna go into 6 because 6 right here, 6 is the low side of the high end. So 6 doesn't take much to go in. It might go in between 800 and 1,000 RPMs. I mean, all depending if you're loaded, the street, you're facing up, facing down, if the street is inclined. There's a whole bunch of different factors to go with the clutching, shifting part of it. And it's the same thing on the high end. You're going to do clutch neutral, clutch 7, clutch neutral, clutch 8, clutch neutral, clutch 9, clutch neutral, clutch 10. I say do like a cadence, 1 and 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here, there's a high reverse, but you don't want to mess with that, especially if you're backing up. You put that truck in high reverse, the truck's going to take off like a bat out of hell. And when you're doing the maneuvers, in the for the exam, you have to keep the truck in idle, right? So what I do, I can put the truck clutch neutral, put the truck in first, and then let off the clutch softly, let the truck roll forward, and that's the speed that I do the examining. Anyways, to do the maneuvers, they give you 45 minutes. Let's go to the next slide. So now, when you're shifting up. You want the proper foot position, right? You want your heel to be resting on the floor. This is your clutch pedal, and you kind of want the ball of your foot, the top of your foot to be on the top. You don't want to be pinching it in and doing no tippy toeing. I know that some of us folks out there, uh, some people are shorter than others, and I see people they sit up in the seat, and I'm like, if you're short and you sit up in the seat, the ball of your foot is not touching the you're pressing on the clutch with your tippy toes. That doesn't work, especially if you're trying to learn how to shift. You're going to destroy the truck. You're going to tear the equipment up. And if you're shifting, you got to listen to the engine. All engines got a different sound, or they're all singing a different tune. They sing a different song. Let's go to the next slide. Right here, when we initially are starting up, you got the clutch, you got the brake pedal, and you got your throttle, right? Clutch is on the left, the brake pedal's on the right, in the middle, and then you got your throttle on the right. Now, the brake pedal, I stay away from the brake pedal because I can use the clutch as a brake. So when you get ready to turn the truck on or you're going to move the truck forward, you push your clutch all the way in, right? This clutch is a brake for the transmission. You just can't push the clutch brake in and throw the truck into gear because it's going to grind. You have to push the clutch brake in. The clutch brake has to stop the transmission from spinning. Then you put the truck in gear. Then here you slowly release your clutch. You're going to feel on the bottom of the ball of your foot. You're going to feel on the bottom of your foot right here. You're going to feel where the gear engages. You're going to feel like a little bit of pressure that pushes up against your foot. And you're not just going to dump the clutch. You're going to let the truck, when you lift your foot off the clutch, the truck starts to move a little bit. And then once it moves and it starts moving, and then you can remove your foot off the clutch the rest of the way to keep the truck from bouncing, to keep the putting strain on the components of the transmission. Uh, what do they call that? The throttle bearing, the clutch brake. Uh, I forgot what that other thing's called. And this, you don't want to be dumping the clutch. If you do that in the truck and you have 80,000 pounds, you'll snap the drive shaft. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now here, this is what I talked about, covering the clutch and the throttle. So when I'm covering the clutch, I'm going to slowly take my foot off the clutch. As the clutch engages and the truck starts to move forward, I'm going to step on the throttle. I'm not going to stomp on it. I'm going to step on it. I'm going to build up road speed and my RPMs. Right? When I'm shifting at 1500 RPMs, I want to take my foot off the throttle the same time that I push in the clutch. So I'm going to do clutch, take my foot off the throttle, put the shifter in neutral, clutch gear, and then feather the throttle. So it's going to be like a combination of footwork. Right now, your left foot is not talking with your right hand. So as you're driving, you let your foot off the clutch, truck starts to move forward. Let's say you're in first gear. Bring the truck up to like 1500 RPMs. You don't have to floor the truck or shove the accelerator pedal all the way through the ground, because the more that the higher you put the RPMs in the truck, the more the truck's going to fight you every way to get out. Truck doesn't want to take off at 2000 RPMs. It wants to be right at 15 or below. So you're going to clutch, take your foot off the clutch, truck starts to move forward, you give the truck throttle, bring the truck up to speed. You got to keep the truck moving. The truck is moving. You're building up road speed, and then you're gonna do, when the RPM's like at 15, you're gonna do clutch, clutch neutral, and then clutch gear, and then you step on the throttle. You feather the throttle, right? So you're gonna do with this foot here, you're bringing the truck up to speed. The moment that you do clutch neutral, at the exact same movement that you're moving the shifter into neutral, you take your foot off the throttle. Then the RPMs drop maybe 200 to 300 RPMs, and around 1100 you do clutch gear, and then you feather the throttle. You don't stomp the throttle, you feather it. Remember, the truck has a lot of torque, and those rear ends are made to move the truck. With 80,000 pounds on it, it's going to make the truck move seamless. If you don't stomp the throttle, or dump the clutch or stomp on the throttle. This is what I was talking about when you do clutch neutral, clutch gear. You don't have to push. The clutch will come all the way over here. When you're going to go into first gear initially, you got to push the clutch all the way down, right? When you push the clutch all the way down, that clutch brake engages the transmission and stops the transmission from spinning, which allows you to put the shifter into gear. And then as you let off the clutch and you push up the clutch, right around here, it's like a sweet spot where you're going to feel on the bottom of your foot, you're going to feel like that little bit of a pinch or pressure. That means that the clutch has engaged. And then as you lift your foot off the clutch, the truck's going to start rolling forward. When it moves forward, and it moves forward a foot, 2 feet, then you're going to let your foot off the throttle completely. And then you're going to take your foot off the clutch completely. You're going to still cover the clutch like this. You can cover the clutch because we're double clutch. Remember, clutch neutral, clutch gear. Once you're driving on the road by yourself, you're going to use the clutch only to take off for the first time. And those instances that you have to stop all of a sudden, and you want to push the clutch in to put the truck in gear, even though you're not at the right RPMs to take it out. Once you push the clutch in, that releases the shifter and it'll go into neutral. At the same time, you got to be careful. It'll go into neutral, and at the same time, if you push the clutch in, it'll go into whatever gear. So if you put it in the wrong gear and you let go of the clutch pedal, you can bottom out the truck. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Here, I got the letter M right here so we can see. We're going to go 1 to 2, right? So as I'm shifting, I'm going to bring the truck up to speed. And I'm going to think, like that cadence. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, clutch and neutral. See, when I'm in position 1, I take my foot off the clutch. The truck starts to roll forward, right? My RPMs start to build up. From 0, the truck starts to move forward. And right when this is my sweet spot between 1,000 and 1,500 RPMs. So when the RPMs start to build, once I let go of the clutch, the RPMs start to build. I give it some throttle. When the RPMs are about 1,500 RPMs, I'm going to do clutch neutral, clutch 2, right? So I'm going to do clutch 1, clutch neutral, clutch 2. But in that one split second, the truck's going to be, and I do clutch neutral, and the truck goes, the RPMs drop. Ooh, the RPMs drop to about 1,100. At that moment, you can do clutch gear. It should go in. That's not going to go in perfect because you guys are learning. But if you get that cadence and then you think of 1 and 2, clutch, neutral, clutch, gear, clutch, neutral, clutch, gear, clutch, neutral, boom. You put the truck in neutral, and then you do clutch, gear, right? Clutch, neutral, clutch, gear. Let's go to the next shifting. Next. Now remember, when you're shifting through the gears, just repeat the sequence. You're gonna say 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. You got to keep the truck moving. Very important. Uh, and don't push your clutch all the way down. Only push down about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches, and it should be enough to engage and disengage the transmission. Now, this what I was talking about earlier. This clutch brake. So you got the brake that you use the truck brakes to stop the truck. And this is your clutch, which is also a clutch brake, right? The clutch brake, you're going to push your clutch brake in and allow the clutch brake to stop the transmission from spinning. Place truck in gear, then slowly release the clutch until the gear engages. Do not just release clutch quickly. Allow truck to move and then slowly lift your foot off the pedal. Remember here, like I said about covering the clutch is like you're gonna keep your foot on the clutch pedal, but you're not gonna put pressure on it. You're just gonna just sit it there. While you're covering the clutch, press on the throttle, build up speed and your RPMs, your road speed and your RPMs. When you get to about, as the truck's going 1 mile an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, the RPMs are also rising. And then when you get to about 1500 RPMs, you're going to do clutch neutral, clutch gear. So if I'm in first, I do clutch neutral, clutch 2, right? And then as I do clutch 2, when the truck goes into gear, I don't stomp on the throttle. Because if I stomp on that throttle is, you wouldn't think it's that sensitive in a big truck, but that throttle is freaking, that's like a hair trigger. If you sneeze on that throttle, that truck will freaking do a bunny hop. So you're gonna feather the throttle. As you feather the throttle, then it's gonna be, you're gonna do it and repeat. Every time you go 1 to 2, clutch neutral, clutch gear. 2 to 3 is clutch neutral, clutch gear. 3 to 4, clutch neutral, clutch gear. It's gonna be, you're gonna repeat the same thing over and over again. Right here, see? Clutch neutral, clutch gear. You push down on the clutch is sitting like right here. You're gonna push the clutch, boom, 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 boom. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. If I do clutch neutral, clutch gear. When I push further down, remember this pushing it further down engages you're trying to make the transmission stop with the clutch brake. So then that slows the transmission speed down. So when you're doing clutch neutral, clutch gear, the truck's gonna have a conniption. It's gonna start bouncing, hissing, pissing, all that stuff. So remember, clutch neutral, clutch gear. Let's go to the next slide. Now we're doing 2 to 3, right? We're going top to bottom. Clutch neutral, clutch 3, right? Clutch neutral, clutch 3. And remember the RPMs when you're doing clutch neutral, clutch 3, man, them RPMs are, if you wait, you're supposed to switch within a second. If you wait 1.1, if you count, okay, 1.0, you're done. It's over. You got that. It's 1 second. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. But you're building up road speed. The truck's moving forward. RPMs are coming up, right? When you get to like 1500, you do clutch neutral, and it's gonna go that the same moment that you push clutch neutral. Remember, the RPMs immediately drop, so it'll drop maybe to like 1100, and then you're gonna do clutch 3, right? I put it here. RPM will drop almost immediately. Need to keep a cadence. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Every time you shift the stick up and down, right? You push back to put it in gear, push up to put it in gear. Let's go to the next slide. Here we're talking about, I'm gonna keep bringing it up because it's the same procedure done over and over again. You're gonna push a clutch in and allow the clutch brake to stop the transmission from spinning. Place truck in gear, then slowly release clutch until the gear engages. Do not just release clutch quickly. Allow truck to move and then slowly lift your foot off the pedal. Right? So every time that you're shifting gears, you got to do the same thing over and over again. Now, remember, this is for the test because double clutching is for the test. You're going to be clutch neutral, clutch gear, clutch neutral, clutch gear, clutch neutral, clutch gear. In the real world, you're going to push your clutch in all the way down. You count 1, 2, 3, 4. Push up if you're going to go to first, or push up if you're going to second or fourth, and pull down if you're going first, third, and fifth. But remember, if you're loaded, usually if you're loaded, you want to take off in first, or the truck's gonna start bouncing. So put the truck in first, clutch first, let the transmission stop spinning, and then you let go of the clutch and you start moving forward. Same thing here. I have this slide repeated, I think, in almost all the examples because it's the same thing. You're gonna cover the clutch, and at the same thing, you're gonna press the throttle. Build up speed, RPMs 1500. Take your foot off the throttle when clutch neutral, then clutch gear, then feather the throttle. It's the same thing over and over again. 1 and 2, clutch neutral, clutch gear. The truck's in gear, you feather the throttle. You don't stomp on, you're not supposed to be stomping on anything. Again, I have these repeated over and over again. So clutch neutral, clutch gear. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. And when you're pushing in up to here, if you go like this, boom, 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 you're not gonna get anything done. What you could probably succeed in is destroying the truck. If we drove from Ocala and we drove down to Ormond Beach, or not Ormond Beach, let's get a little bit closer. Let me see. We go from Ocala, we drive down 441, and we go out to Naples. When we get to Naples, our truck will be destroyed if we're doing this. Boom, 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 boom. Clutch neutral, clutch neutral, clutch gear. Because the further, like the longer the stroke, the worse it is for the shifting. So you have to keep your strokes soft. Boom, boom. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now we're going 3 to 4. Remember the in pattern? We're going 3 to 4. So you're gonna build the truck. You're gonna, once you shift and you're in third, you're bringing the truck up to speed. You're moving the truck forward. The truck's moving forward. That's not moving forward fast. It's still going probably under 10 miles an hour. You bring up the RPMs to 1500. I just shifted. I did clutch neutral, clutch gear. My RPMs are like at 1100. I feather the throttle. The truck comes up to 15. At 15, I do clutch neutral, and then the RPMs go. Dun. When the RPMs drop to about 1,000, I'm gonna do 1100 to 1,000. I'm gonna do clutch 4. So I'm here 3. Ooh, clutch neutral, clutch 4. When the RPMs drop, RPMs are high. Ooh, Clutch neutral. Remember, when I do clutch neutral, I took my foot off the throttle. The minute I took my foot off the throttle, the truck goes, then I do clutch 4 as the RPMs drop. Right? The clutch is just synchronizing the transmission. So when I do clutch gear, it should go right in. Right? Let's go to the next slide. Same thing, remember. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. If you go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, that's further than you want to go. You want to go just within 2 to 3 inches. 1500 out, 1100 in. Now we're going to go 4 to 5. So we're straight in 4. So we're the RPMs just went to 1,000. We feather the throttle. The truck's starting to build up speed. Road speed, RPMs. The RPMs are at 15. It goes, so I do clutch neutral, clutch 5. Just like here. See how I have the M pattern? You do clutch neutral, clutch 5. Just like that. 1500 RPMs. Clutch neutral. The truck goes, when those RPMs go, you do clutch 5. It should go right in like butter. Right? Let's keep going. Remember, where I'm thinking of the letter M. Every time I'm shifting, there's an H pattern here, but we're going to go with the M, right? 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. And neutral in the middle. Now, when you're going to shift low to high, the knob, it has a splitter, right? High and low gear. So when you're shifting and you have your hand right here, don't be playing around with the shifter. High is to go into high gears. 6 and above, and low is between 1 and 5, right? Same thing goes every time you're shifting. Clutch neutral, you're in 5. You're here in 5, you do clutch neutral, clutch 6. You'll see it in the next slide. But you're going to be doing clutch neutral, clutch gear, clutch neutral, clutch gear. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Same thing here, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And then when you push down on the brake, you got to let go of the brake pedal, let go of the clutch, let the truck engage. Truck starts to move forward, then you take your foot off the clutch completely, or the truck will hop like a freaking rabbit. Let's go to the next slide. See how we have 5? Now we're going to go 5, and we're going to go into the high side. So between 5 and 6, that is the longest stroke that you have. You know, like I said, I keep saying your RPMs are going to drop about almost immediately. So you need to keep a cadence. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Clutch and neutral and clutch and neutral. Clutch and neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. So I'm in 5. I bring, the RPMs, bring the RPMs up. 1500 RPMs. I do clutch neutral. Then I do clutch 5. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. So I'd go 5 to 6. Now, when I go 5 to 6, remember, I'm in the letter M. So I'm going from the high side to the lowest on the high side. from the low side to the lowest gear of the high end. So you don't need to be smashing the throttle in neither. You got to drive the truck real smooth. Let's go to the next slide. I can't overemphasize. This foot is what's going to keep you from driving a manual or not. So you're going to do clutch and neutral, clutch and neutral, clutch and neutral. Clutch and neutral, clutch and neutral. You can cover the clutch brake, right? Now we're going to go 6 to 7. Remember the letter M pattern. Clutch neutral, clutch 7. Clutch neutral, clutch 7. Now, You're bringing up the road speed. Now you're at 1500 RPMs. Then you do clutch neutral. The RPMs drop. But at the same time you're doing clutch and neutral, you're doing clutch gear, right? Clutch neutral, clutch gear. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Let's go to the next slide. Put it in between every slide. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Safety. Neutral and 2 and neutral and 2 and neutral and 2. Same thing. You lift up the clutch just about this much. You don't have to push the clutch all the way down, or if not, you're working against yourself. Let's keep going. So now we're going 7 to 8, right? Now we're in the center again. You got high reverse, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're at 7 to 8. So now we know, bring the RPMs up to 1500. You do clutch neutral, clutch gear. Your RPMs will drop almost immediately. Need to keep a cadence, like I keep saying, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Every time you shift, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. So you have clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. You just can't go boom, 7 to 8. You got to do clutch neutral, clutch gear. Remember, it's always going to be the same RPMs, high on the high end or low end. 1500. Then at 1100, you do clutch gear. Go to the next slide. I'm going to have it every other slide. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to push in the clutch maybe 2-3 inches. Those 2-3 inches are going to let it disengage enough for you to shift, right? And then when you shift, don't push the clutch all the way down. And then when you let off the clutch, you don't let off the clutch, boom, in one shot. You let off the clutch slowly, right? I'm going to keep counting. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. So now we go 8 to 9, right? We just did clutch neutral, clutch 8. Now we're going to go clutch neutral, clutch 9. So we have the letter M because that's how the shifter is. When you shift up and you shift, as you shift up, the gears are to the side. 7 and 8 is directly in front of each other. 9 and 10, reverse and first, second and third, fourth and fifth. But you have to remember that when you're moving this you're moving the shifter, you're moving it in an M pattern. Neutral M. Clutch neutral, clutch 9. Clutch neutral, clutch 10, right? RPMs, the same scenario. 1800 RPMs. 18. You do clutch neutral, and then the RPMs drop. When the RPMs drop, you do clutch 9. It should go in like butter. And I keep harping on the same BS. Pushing the clutch. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Don't do this. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Boom and boom, man. Because when you let go of that clutch and you let it go late, man, you can cause catastrophic damage to the vehicle. And remember, this double clutching, you're not doing it. Not one more time in your whole life do you do the double clutching. You're going to do double clutching for the test. Don't ask me why. It's because they want everything to be synchronized, right? You need to be able to synchronize your transmission. How do you do that? Clutch neutral, clutch gear. Clutch neutral, clutch gear. So now we're going 9 to 10, right? We just went 9 and 10. Clutch neutral, clutch 9. Clutch neutral, clutch 9. So we're in ninth gear. Remember, we're still following that M pattern. Clutch neutral, clutch 10. Bring the RPMs up to 1500. You're going to keep the same cadence at 1500 RPMs. You're going to do clutch neutral, clutch gear. All right? Let's go to the next slide. Now, here on the downshifting, it's very easy because we don't downshift on the low end. You'll be a maniac if you downshift on the low end. If you downshift on the low end and it's your truck, you bought a truck, all right, congratulations. Your truck's going to be broken in about a month. Why? Because in school, the trucks are empty. When you go out there in the real world and you have 80,000, 60,000, and you downshift on the low end and you don't get it in the right gear, you're going to snap that drive shaft like a piece of candy. So let's go ahead and look. Where downshifting is only done on the high side. You're going to have your gear. Your speed is your gear, right? 15 miles an hour, 1 plus 5 equals 6 gear. 25 miles an hour, 2 plus 5 equals 7. 35 miles an hour, 3 plus 5 equals 8. 45 miles an hour is 4 plus 5 equals 10. 55 miles an hour, it's 5 plus 5 equals 10, which is 10th gear. Now, when you're shifting, oh man, downshifting is sweet. You have to downshift using the clutch also for the exam. Now, you only have to downshift the correct way once. Because if I try to downshift using the clutch, I could probably tear the truck up in no time because I'm literally uh, when you're doing clutch neutral, right? Clutch neutral, you give the guy throttle and then gear. In the normal world, you do clutch neutral. You're downshifting. When you're downshifting, you're bringing the truck, you're slowing the truck down too. So that chart, there was the speed. Your speed is your gear. It's 15 is 6, 25 7, 35 8, 45 9. I'm slowing down. I'll show you now. The next slides are downshifting uh, 10 to 6. Let's see. So right now we're shifting. Now we're not shifting up, we're downshifting. So we're shifting, we're slowing down. I'm at whatever, 65 miles an hour. I'm going to let the truck slow down on its own. What does that mean? Take your foot off the throttle, take your foot off the throttle, and then you use the math. What happens to truck is literally going to go, it's going to lose a lot of power. Easy. So if I'm at 65 miles an hour and I get to 45 miles an hour, I'm going to do clutch neutral, clutch 10, right? Clutch neutral. You're in 10, you're going to do clutch neutral, clutch 9. This is the same thing. We're going back to the M pattern, right? The M is 10 to 9. Clutch neutral, throttle, step on the gas, throttle, clutch 9, right? Same thing here. When we're doing in the real world, you do clutch neutral, you bump the throttle, and then you do gear. But you're going to do it within the range of that gear. You're not going to downshift to downshift even if you're going fast. Because when you push that clutch in, now when you're floating, which is how you do it in the real world, the truck is it's going to self-prevent any damage. So if I'm floating and I'm going 55 miles an hour, and I slow down and I got to clutch, I got to 55 miles an hour, I'm at 50 miles an hour, and I do clutch neutral and I do throttle and I do gear, most likely the truck's going to scratch because the truck doesn't want to go in at 55. It wants to go in, it doesn't want to go in at 50. It wants to go in at 45. So I'm going to use the lowest range of the gear, right? Your gear is your speed is your gear. Coming down, the math is exact. 15 6, 25 7, 35 8, 45 9. You're not going to downshift 10 lower. And you got to do it at the lowest range of the gear. Let's go to the next slide. So now I'm going to downshift 9 to 8, right? Remember the M pattern? I'm going to do let the truck slow down. The truck's slowing down. It's going slower, slower, slower. Right. We did it at 45, 45, 44, 40, 38, 37, 36, 35. Boom. 35, you're going to do clutch neutral, bump the throttle, boom, clutch 8. Clutch neutral, clutch 8. Now here, remember, we're going to let the truck slow down on its own. I don't have to push on the foot brake because if I push on the foot brake and I'm trying to downshift, now I have that forward moving inertia. Like I got, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So when I slow down, the weight of the truck pushes me forward. When I push down on the brake, when I push on the brake, the weight of the truck pushes me forward. When I'm on the throttle and I take my foot off the throttle, the weight of the truck pushes me back. The speed of the truck pushes me forward. So I'm always constantly looking at the tachometer. So now the trucks, I'm gonna go 9 to 8. I'm at 45 miles an hour, right? 44, 43, 42. Let's see, it's coming up. I think 90 or so. I forgot what day the kid's coming in. So I'm like 45, 40, 44, 43, 42. Oh man, I'm right there. You know, I'm not gonna do boom boom. I'm gonna let the RPMs drop, right? Because 8, I'm going 9 to 8. So I'm in ninth. I let the truck drop. The road speed dropped to 35. I do clutch neutral. I bump the throttle. Boom. When I bump the throttle, I'm not talking about smashing it in. I'm talking about just like tapping it with the ball of your foot. Bump the throttle. It should go up to about 1,000 RPMs, and then you're gonna do clutch and gear for every one. Remember, 9, 3 plus 5 is 8. 4 plus 5 is 9. So now we're downshifting 9 to 8. Let's go to the next slide. Remember, clutch neutral, you push the shifter, put the shifter in neutral, and then you bump the throttle, boom, and then you do clutch gears. Right? So let's go to the next slide. Then now we're gonna go 8 to 7, right? So I'm letting the truck slow down. The truck's slowing down. I'm going 35, 34, 30, 29, 20. I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna shift at 25 because 5 is the lowest gear for 7, right? 2 plus 5 is what? 7. 25 miles an hour. Let the truck slow down on its own. You're gonna take your foot off the throttle. Then now we're gonna use the math, right? 25, 2 plus 5 is 7. You're gonna do clutch neutral. You're gonna bump the throttle, and you're gonna do clutch 7. So it's clutch neutral, clutch 7. If the truck, they're doing something with the truck, and the truck's, well, anyways, we're on the high side, so nothing's gonna be happening with the truck. I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else. So here we do. The truck's slowing down. 29, 28, 27, 26, around 25. I'm gonna do clutch neutral. The RPMs are immediately gonna tank. I gotta bump the throttle. Boom, hit the throttle. RPMs go up to 1,000. Then I do clutch 7, and it should go. It should go right in like butter. And like I'm not gonna emphasize. I'm gonna skip that last reel because It's the same thing. Clutch neutral, clutch gear, clutch neutral, clutch gear. Remember the M pattern. Always think of the M pattern. Now we're going from 7, we're going to 6. So we're gonna bring the truck down this, we're gonna let the truck slow down. You're gonna be 25, 23, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Right when you get to 15, you're gonna do clutch neutral, bump the throttle, and then clutch 6. Clutch neutral, let the RPMs drop, and then clutch 6. You only have to clutch gear maybe once or twice. The rest of the time, you should be fine. But you got to show them. You got to be a little bit proficient on this. Otherwise, there's those things that are gonna it's gonna keep us from going from doing. I'm gonna see if I can add to these slides something an overlay of the transmission so you can see how like, oh my god, I'm gonna destroy the truck if you're not driving the truck correctly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Like this video, share this video. Like this video, thumbs up, and then thank you for the video. All right, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice night. All right, guys and gals, I'm trying to show you these next photos are all this damage that can happen because you're not shifting. And when you hear that grinding, what is it that's grinding? All these gears. These are, I think, the high input shaft and then the low input shaft. These things right here is like first and second gear, and you got third and fourth, and I think 5 is back here. But these little gears slide inside these gears. Let's go to the next. That just goes to show you uh, how much things are grinding when you're shifting wrong, and how important it is to use the clutch brake and to not drive around just grinding away, like turning everything into freaking Parmesan cheese. That's part. See all those gears in there? This gear goes inside of there, right? This goes inside of there. Then you got the input shaft that comes from the outside and goes through the transmission. Let's go to the next slide. See, that's the input shaft. Those gears come in right there, those little small ones in between. Those slide into these. These are constantly moving. And then these get pushed into each other. I think it's like 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and I think back here is 5. This is like the low end, and I think that's the high end. I'm not too familiar with these transmission stuff, but I can tell, look at all that damage and all those teeth. Those teeth are, you go to the dentist is going to knock you, he's going to hit you in the face with a sledgehammer. Here you can see a little bit of damage on the teeth and how all these things mesh together. Everything, I forgot that I was saying, they're all, forgot the term he said, it's like, where they all mesh into one another. There's no play there. When that goes, when you dump the clutch, all this stuff at the same time is smashing into, it's all smashing into one another. Here you can see all that damage there. Oh my God, that's terrible. I mean, stuff like that happens. These things are pretty resilient, but they can take a hit. They take a hit, it's expensive. Up here, you can see that's like the input shaft. Like I said, I think this is the low end and then the high end. So when you go to 5 low, right, it's 1, 2, I think it's 3, 4, and then there's 5 back up in here. And then when you switch to the high side, these things are all like the ratios. This everything's spinning. So when you go on the high side, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean 6, 7, 8, 9, and The one back here is 10, but just so you guys can get an idea of how, look at all that damage right there. Those teeth are all ripped to shreds. This is what I think this is what goes out to the drive shaft. And up here in the front is where the clutch and the clutch brake are. The guy didn't have pictures of the throttle bearing, but this is good enough to give you guys an idea. See there? Those little gears, they go into here. These are constantly moving. And then you got the forks. The forks on the transmission are moving these back and forth inside of these gears. These gears are moving, and then you're gonna go like one, two, three, four, and then five is in the back there. But all these things are constantly moving with one another. See how like when these things are, it's the he moved this back a little bit because he was taking it out, but all this stuff, they all mesh into one another. Here you can see all those damage on those fins. And I was telling one of the students, see how here the fins, because they're mashing into one another, you know, obviously they got to go in an angle. So like that, if they're straight, they'd probably crash in. They probably knock into each other. So these little fins here have like a 45-degree angle that makes them fit into one another even more snug and tight. So with even more care you have to be when you're pushing. Let's see the last. Look at that. That thing has hardly no teeth. That's why it's important. You know, you take care of the truck takes care of you. Obviously, the truck that's in the school, it's made. It's it's not if it's gonna break, it's when is it gonna break. But the instructors try to teach you to take care of the equipment. If one day you buy your truck and you're driving your truck out there and you drive it really bad, this is gonna happen to you. This is not cheap. In some cases, it might cost you more money. You can probably buy a truck, get another truck for what it costs you to do this transmission work. That's who knows. The guy was saying in the video it takes about an hour to change the components, but the guy you see him in the video and he's like tink 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 tink, and all that stuff is like kind of falling apart because he could probably do that stuff with his eyes closed. But nonetheless, see how these things, all this damage here from the fins, because all the gears they all intermingle or they intermesh, like the guy was saying. All right, everybody. Hope you liked the video. I just wanted to show some photos of what kind of damage can occur to the transmission and how easy it is to damage a truck, and how easy it is to get the truck going. It doesn't take a lot of effort to get the truck going. The truck wants to go real slow. It's not like a car. The slower and the more careful you are with the truck, the more it's going to take care of you. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching this video. Share this video, like this video. Peace out. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. This video's a little bit under an hour, but I wanted to be informative as best as I can because I have a video that's just a read only. Now this is going to be a narrated video. All right, I did a couple of things different because I was looking at stuff that I missed on that first video. All right, folks, thank you for everything. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.